All right. Hello, everyone. We will begin the careers workshop now. And just to let everyone know, this is going to be recorded. You should be getting a notification about it so we can have it on our YouTube channel. All right. So welcome to the Bartlett Society of Engineering and Architectural Design first career workshop. This is going to be the first of a series of 5 career workshops that are going to run over the rest of term 2. So we're going to have one every Wednesday. And this is the first one with the topic of general internships. Just a bit about what's going to happen in the meeting. We're going to have 6 people present their internship experience. So that's going to be Milena, myself, Reda, Miriam, Emily, and Andreina. These are all people from our course across years 3 and 4. Each of us will speak about a bit our own experience, but also how to help you with the interviews, how to manage your applications, etc. And then at the end, you'll have opportunity to ask questions and kind of have a bit more of an informal conversation about internships and our experience. So thank you everyone for joining, and let's begin. I'll give the floor to Milena.
Thank you very much, Ina. So I'm going to try to be quick. I think everyone has like 5 minutes. So if you guys have more questions about it, just feel free to like text us later or like just, in the section of the questions. So I just want to start with the fact that on my first year, I so badly tried to have an internship, but it was kind of impossible because there's no place really that is going to take people from first years when they have people from like second year or third year applying to them, because obviously you have more experience, you've learned more things. So don't stress out if you don't get an internship in your first year, because it's normal, it's okay, and you're going to have much more other opportunities. And if you get internships later on, you will be able to like use them better, you know what I mean? So with that, I want to say that the advice that I would give, at least for the first year and your summer there, is have your summer, like try to travel, enjoy it with your friends, and just do nothing, because it's something that you are not really going to be able to do on the next couple of years once you graduate, when you start getting a job, so it's kind of like your last summer or one of your last summers. So don't stress out at that point and try to enjoy it. And if you want to so badly do something, get some experience, add something to your CV, then there's so many other opportunities that you can actually do. You can work in a cafe, you can work in a library, you can do some volunteering experience abroad, you can work on a YouTube channel, like there's many things that you can always do and that are as equally valuable. In my case, for example, I wanted to have a job. It was just after COVID times, I didn't mind if it was just in a Starbucks, whatever it is. And that actually looks good in your CV, because afterwards, if you apply to other internships, the fact that you've actually worked somewhere, already shows that you are someone that will commit, that you have some sort of professionalism, that you take like things seriously, so it's okay even if it's just a Starbucks. Like it doesn't have to be like an architecture firm with a really, really big name, you know what I mean? In my case, I worked as a flight attendant for Ryanair. It was my like first official job. I worked all summer on it. It was like the first time that I was like actually working, and it was something like really serious because it's also a job that is really related with security. And I learned a lot of things like working in group, working between different countries, sort of being able to speak to the public, to follow like a set of rules, and it's like such a valuable experience that I wouldn't really change, that I'm so happy that I actually did, and that like really brought to me like a lot of things, So there's many things that you can do. And the fact that I actually did this meant that in my other jobs later, like it was like a positive thing, like people did like that while I spoke about it during my interviews, you know what I mean? And so that's what I did on my first year. Now, on my second year, next thing I want to stress out is that on the careers workshop we did it last year, one of the main advices was that you should use your contacts. Like if you apply, because it's difficult, okay, to get internships. Of course, the fact that you're in the Bartlett means that you're going to have an easy way, to start with, but still it's something really difficult. And most of the times, if you have contacts, or like people that work in offices, you might be able to like get there freely. And one of the advices that people told us last year was that you should use that. In my case, I don't know anyone in the architecture world. I don't have any contact and nothing like that at all. So it's not something that I ever thought, or like maybe if I like start digging a bit or like talk to tutors around the Bartlett, I could get something. But I got two internships and I got the best ones that I could really get only by myself, which is something that was later like much more rewarding, you know what I mean? So if you have contacts and you can get like really say an internship, great, do it. But if you do it by yourself, and you work for it, you get the experience of like writing a cover letter, preparing a portfolio, and like doing all this process by yourself, like as a learning process, it will be like much more rewarding. And again, in your CV, it will have like a much bigger weight. So in my case, I worked like 2 months for Pierre Kinkel's group in Copenhagen and 2 months in Ensemble Studio in Madrid. I loved both of them. They are really different. I worked in different capitals around Europe, which was also nice. I, of course, met again like a lot of new international people from all over the world. A lot of things. Ensemble Studio is like a medium-sized studio. They work a lot with materials and with nature. I love it because the main architect, he's really famous all over Spain. He's also professor at MIT. They have a materials lab there, so the fact that I could work with that experience was really nice. And the fact that I could work back in my home country was also really nice. And then when I moved to Bjørkinga's group in Copenhagen, it was a bit of a different thing because this is a really big office. Like we were around 300, 400 people in the office, different to like Ensemble, which was maybe like 25 people, So it was like very different. Again, people from all over the world. I got to work in two different projects. One was in the historical center of Shanghai. The other one was in Paris. So like really different projects. You do a lot of different things, meet a lot of people, like get really how it is working in a studio, and you of course are, because you are doing a summer internship, you're going to do like the main basis thing, like the sort of workforce of whatever you are, which is like plans, sections, drawings, models, like, and you will get the chance to be in like meetings, or see how being like the next level works, but you're going to do like the most basic stuff, at least when you start. At least in Bjørkinga's group, I was doing like the part 1 architecture job, which is the one that we are going to do once we graduate. And it's literally that, like just plans, sections, drawings, like the most basic stuff. And to not make this longer, I just want to add that I got paid in Bjørkinga's group. It was very little, but it was something, like as an intern, don't expect to be paid a lot of money. And in Ensemble Studio, I wasn't paid, but they offered like the accommodation, so at least it was something. But through UCL Careers, this is something that I would really, really recommend, and try to apply as soon as you can during the spring break, because you have like the touring scheme, which is something that UCL offers, which is that if you get something for summer by yourself, like an internship or a volunteering experience of anything like this, like somewhere else that it's not the UK, they can fund it for you, so it's something nice. It's not like a scholarship, but it's like something through uni that will make you like at least get some more money, if you are not paid over the summer, like I was in Madrid. So try to have like all your doors open, and really, really recommend UCL Careers and doing things by yourself. And that's on my side. Thanks, Ina.
Thank you, Milena. I will follow with my own experience. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ina. I'm currently the career lead of SEAD, and I'm also in third year of the MEng. So just as Milena, in my first year, I didn't really do anything, except she had a job. I just did kind of nothing. Don't stress too much about it. I wish I'd done more in terms of not done an internship. I wish I'd spent some time learning software and stuff like that. But don't stress too much about it. Really, your first year, as Milena said, is kind of your last summer where you can actually have 3 full months of traveling and spending time with your family and with your friends. And I do think the experience you could get from an internship after your first year compared to the value you're going to get from having that last kind of childish summer is incomparable. So you should really have that summer off. Then the summer after my second year, so last summer, I did kind of two separate experiences. So I was first an intern at McDonald and at their office in Sofia, which is the capital of Bulgaria, where I'm from. And then I did some construction volunteering with All Hands and Hearts. So about those two experiences, they were very, very different. I cherish them equally. And I would very much encourage everyone to try different experiences, especially how we are on a course that combines the three disciplines. I think it's very important, unless you have very much decided on one of the three disciplines, I think it's very important to try out internships in structural engineering and architecture and environmental and construction management and all that kind of stuff. So to begin with Mott McDonald, I did an internship with them for a month, so over the month of July, and that was in their Sofia office in Bulgaria. As Marina said, it's very important to use your connections. That is what I did. That's how I got this internship, because in Bulgaria, especially my country, that's not something people do. You don't really do internships. That's not anything. Most companies don't even have such positions. Very, very few have started offering them recently. How I got this position was actually through my personal tutor, who had a contact at so the head of the office in Sofia, and he got me in touch with him. It's not really, when I say use your connections, it's not necessarily to get in, but it's even that can like at least get you an interview, or even if you're applying to some of the big companies, say McDonald's or Arup or Borough Happold or something like that, it's definitely a big help to have someone on the inside who can kind of vouch for you. It doesn't necessarily need to be using your contacts because your aunt is an architect and she can just hire you at her firm without ever putting any effort into it. You can still go through the traditional process. However, it's a very, very big help to have kind of someone on your side. So I would definitely recommend to use your connections. And I know a lot of people will come from families where everyone's an architect or everyone's an engineer, and you might look at those people and be like, well, of course they've got so many connections, I don't know anyone. Yes, you do. Just from being on our course, just from being at the Bartlett, talk to your personal tutor, talk to students from the years above. So talk to your threes, talk to your fours who already did internships at those companies that you might be interested in. Talk to all of your design tutors, everyone who teaches on our course, people from our industry advisory board. There's so many people related to our course in any way who are also in industry or related to industry or know people in industry. That's definitely a huge, huge, huge benefit. Definitely take advantage of it. So my internship in McDonald was in structural engineering. So I did work with software. It was quite a small office of about 30 people, but it is a company that has, I think they're about 2,000 employees now. So it's a massive, massive engineering company. I worked on a project for a nuclear reactor. So kind of stuff that I had not yet seen in our degree so far, because it's not really your typical design project that you would do. So it was incredibly, incredibly interesting, great experience. And I definitely recommend getting an internship, even if you don't. I kind of didn't want to block out my whole summer and have like an internship for 3 4 months. So I did this for just 1 month. Most places, especially when it's the kind of thing as I was doing, kind of contacting a company that doesn't necessarily offer internships, they're quite open to whatever kind of timeline and length that you would like to do. I was paid for this, but very, very little is kind of symbolic. So yeah, again, as Melena said, don't expect to get a lot of money. And this was my experience with internship last summer. Then what I did for the rest of the summer, so later on during the summer, I went and volunteered with All Hands and Hearts, which is an international NGO. What they do is they do disaster relief volunteering. So when there's a disaster happening somewhere, they send teams of people who set base for about 3 to 4 months and work on projects with the locals. So I know some other people from our course have also volunteered with them. What I did was in the Bahamas, where they're doing disaster relief volunteering after the Hurricane Dorian kind of wiped out the whole Bahamas in 2019. So I was there in September, right before we started uni, for about 2 weeks, and I was actually working on site. So that might sound like not the greatest experience in terms of what you will learn that will be applicable to our course, because you kind of want to know how to design stuff and how to do the calculations, not how to lay bricks or like how to put hurricane clips or stuff like that. It's actually so, so, so important, the amount of stuff that I learned from actually being at a construction site and seeing how you put studs and how you connect them, what all of these bolted or welded or whatever connections that we learn about, what that thing actually looks like in real life, how you actually put it, is really, really, really helping me with my project this year. So I definitely recommend getting actual construction experience in complement to your engineering and design and architectural experience. It was definitely a great thing to do. And also through doing it with a volunteering agency like that, or a volunteering organization, you have a chance obviously to help others. And I think that's something really, really valuable, that if you do that now and you get that value now, you'll be able to carry it along for the rest of your life. So All Hands on Hearts are the type of organization where you don't have to pay them anything. You just pay for your flights and you go and volunteer with them. They have a team leaving for Turkey now, if anyone's interested. It's actually a great opportunity. And in addition to that, as Manana was mentioning, the tutoring scheme that UCL is offering, I also got sort of scholarship from UCL from the I actually have to check the name, the UCL Global Experience Bursary. So if you are doing any experience abroad, whether that be, it can be for an internship, but if it's volunteering or just traveling or something like that, that is related to your course, which in this case it is because it's construction volunteering, they'll give you a bursary of up to, I think it was £700 or something like that, to use on your experience. So I spend that on my plane tickets. Um, and yeah, great experience. Just to mention as a side note, a similar experience that is currently being started and run by myself and a couple other students in our course, which is the Engineers in Action Society, that will be set up very, very, very soon. You'll be hearing about it. It's kind of the same type of work. We'll be doing construction volunteering over summer and designing a bridge. So that is also something that can work in complement to your internship or instead of an internship. I definitely think it's really hard to get internship after year one. Still after year two, not that many people get internships. So if you really want to do something, construction volunteering is a great, great, great opportunity. And you can do that instead of doing an internship, or yeah, in addition to it. And then a bit of about how I'm managing my applications right now. I didn't do this last year because I wasn't really looking very actively for an internship. I wasn't applying to loads of places. I was just kind of trying to see what contacts I could have and get an internship through that. So what I'm doing right now is I've got this, I think a lot of people have similar things. I've got this big Excel that I've made, and I'm entering whenever I hear about an internship opportunity or whenever I find a company that I'm interested in, I'll enter in the first column kind of like the name of the company, then what field is it in? Is it industrial engineering? Is it structural? Is it architecture? Is it environmental? Then I'll enter if they have a due date, so like a deadline for the application, what the application consists of. Do I just have to send them an email? Is there a process? Is there an assessment and stuff like that? Then I'll for myself, and then I'll be ticking in the next columns whether I've started working on it, whether I've submitted it, what I've heard back. Have they asked me for any like further action, or have they said no, or have they said yes? So, and then everything is a bit color coded and helping me manage better and not like kind of miss out on any deadlines, or then regret not being able to apply for something that I want to do. But then again, don't stress that much about it. I think there's some great opportunities outside of internships, such as volunteering, that can be arranged very much closer to the actual date of it happening. So yeah, if you have any questions specifically about kind of the management part of applications or volunteering, you can hit me up. And that's it for me. I'll pass on to Reda.
Hi guys, how are you? So for those who don't know me, my name is Rida and I'm in year three. Um, Last summer I got accepted to an internship in Europe, so I just wanna explain a bit the process of the application and then what to expect in an interview with Europe and some advice from me, and what I think is like I don't know will help you in the internship and the interview I mean, and then also I'll talk a bit about what to expect during the internship if you get accepted. Yeah, first of all, the application. Last year, the application was like I had to fill a form of like 6 to 7 questions, It's questions such as like why Arab, um, why do you think you're good for this role? And actually, I got accepted to like structural engineering role in Arab. Another question was like, what skills do you have? Or, for example, give me and like give an example of one building that you're interested in and say why. So this was kind of like the questions that I got last year. And then after that, I got like an interview of 1 hour online interview. But this year I applied again, and this year there was like an online assessment that I didn't do last year, and I don't know why. It's like I didn't have it last year, but this year I did it. And it's like a cognitive test, a math test, and then a personality test. So I think these are the three like steps for the application if you want to apply to Europe. Now about the interview is like an hour online interview with like two like engineers or yeah, two engineers from one HR and one engineer from Arab, and there's no like technical questions on like can you solve this. It's more about like yourself, how you manage your time and stuff like that. So I just want to say that last year Arab accepted only three structural engineers interns during the summer, and two of these three were like from our course. So I think that they're interested in the students from our course, and I think this is like we have an advantage compared to other people. Um, so based on that, and it's what I did actually. I talked a lot about like the fact that we are um, like we are in this MEng program where we combine three disciplines, and like we're not just structural engineers, we're not just environmental engineers, we're not just architect, but like we're all the three together, and that's what we do in every project. Like we try to think about all three disciplines in everything we do. And like um some questions that I got during the interview were like, how do you manage your time if you have many tasks? So the way I responded to these questions were like by showing my work, showing like some reports, the design like projects that we do, and showing that like proving that in everything we do we have the three disciplines. Like I showed my design project and I explained how we don't only think about architecture and design, but we have to think about structures, we have to think about environmental, and that's why like that's how we try to give the best like designs, the sustainable designs. So we like um we manage our time in a good way. um like we're good, like what I said and what they liked about me, that's what like they told me, is that we can do like many tasks from different disciplines at the same time with like a lot of details, creativity, and accuracy, and then we give to everything that like the time it deserves. And that's what I like, that's what I told them, and that's what they liked, is that we can manage different tasks, we can do like project, we can think about different things, and we can give everything the time it deserves. So like my advice from this is like during the interview, try to um like say that you're doing a program that has three different disciplines, and you can manage all three disciplines, and you think about all three disciplines to give the best like sustainable design. um and so yeah, talk about this idea of integrated designers and the combination of three disciplines in like all our project. Now, also try to show your work a lot. Try to show them what you do, your reports, your structure reports, if you're applying to structural engineering, or even all like your reports from environmental courses, because they're also interested in this. And like always, remember that the interview is like your chance to sell yourself. So you have to keep in mind that like you are different than other students who are doing only architecture or structural engineering or I don't know, mechanical engineering. So just like you have an advantage and use it. And yeah, so this is about the and this is for the interview. And now what to expect during the internship. Actually I worked on a project in London. It was like a retrofitting for like a big building in Covent Garden, and I worked with like a team of all types of kind of engineers, mechanical engineers, structural engineers, facade engineering, fire engineering, and that's how it works in Europe. Like there is a team of all kind of engineering, and then they meet every week. to discuss like everything. And that's when like that's why they like people like us, because we can understand like everything. We understand structural engineers, we understand building services engineers. We have an idea about everything that's happening in the building. And even though I applied as a structural engineer, I worked with like the MEP team a lot also during my internship, because they know that we have a good background with that from our course. Um, and it's actually like you do real work during your internship. It's not like 'cause when I first joined, I didn't think that I'll do work like real work related to the project, where they'll be okay, do this, and they'll just like use it for the project. It's actually what you do. And like you work on GSA, you work on Revit, you learn softwares. Um, it's so interesting. You meet new people, and then you have site visits also. You visit your site, the site of the project that you work on, if it's in the UK. And then you can visit other sites if you like, also by asking other teams of engineers. So for me, it was an amazing experience. And yeah, like my advice for you is to like don't be afraid, be confident in your interview. If you get accepted, ask questions, learn from it as much as possible, and just keep in mind that the fact that we're doing this course with 3 disciplines will help you a lot during your application and then even during your internship. So yeah, this was my main advice. Use this advantage that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Reda, for sharing your experience. We'll continue with Miriam.
Thank you, Ina. So I'm also year 3, and I did 2 internships last summer. I think I'm going to reiterate a lot of things that have been said, but as Ina mentioned, I think it's very important, especially in year 1 and 2, to kind of look into the projects that you like and start to collate like a list of companies that you're interested in, not only for internship, but also for graduate opportunities, because you will get to that point, even though it's far right now, you will need these. And I think it's better to start early. So first I did an MEP internship, which was actually more than I thought it would be, like mechanical duct design, which partially it was, but they really, at Introba, they really exposed me to everything, including fire engineering, electrical engineering, energy modeling, which was really, really helpful. They really look after you. And I think you should really try to take these opportunities and make the most of them, because you can learn a lot of software, and it's a lot of like skills that you can put on your CV. I think the biggest project I worked on at Introba was Legoland, like the new Legoland. So they have some, even though they're not as big as Burhable, they have some big projects. Um, and yeah, it was actually very relaxing. I would say engineering is kind of like not as stressful as an intern, because you go in at 9 or 10 and you go home at 5. Like there's no pressure, and you can leave for a coffee whenever, and you get paid, so it's very relaxing in the UK at least. And in my interview, I had 2 interviews, and I think they didn't expect me to know much about building services, so it was very like refreshing that I did, and that I also related it to the other parts of a building. So use your MEng knowledge, like talk about integrated design, talk about architecture, even though if it's engineering, or talk about engineering, even though it's architecture, because you will stand out and they need that in like real life projects. So yeah, definitely say that, because it makes you look very mature and like smart. Trust me. And with Borough Happold, I did structural engineering. They had a very interesting application process where they would have, it's kind of like mini essay questions, like, what do you think about the future of concrete, and so on. And I found it very interesting. And I tried to make my answer kind of stand out as well. Like I would mention the aspect of architecture and public realm and everything. And they found that I think I stood out because most civil engineering students have no idea about that or don't really look at that. So you can really make yourself more appealing if you mention these things. And at Borough Happold, it's very grasshoppery, I would say. Like they're really like leaders in the parametric design. So that's very nice, and you can learn a lot that you can apply literally in coursework and in your projects. But I found that even though they look after you and you learn a lot, you have to be kind of proactive at Borough Happold, because in summer everyone's going on vacation. That like it's very relaxed. We have to be like, okay, listen, I want to go on site. I want to do this. So just if you feel kind of bored or not stimulated or not challenged, like you should just go up to them and be like, I want to do this, and I'm sure they will help you. And one more thing, I think that other people didn't mention, is to kind of ace your interview. The best thing to do is really look at what the company is about, like kind of the reports they have, designs they have, like what their main focus is, because I would literally cite back to them their report and they would be so happy about it because they obviously agree. So it's like kind of do your research about the people and the company and kind of say it back to them and they will eat it up. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. We'll go ahead with Emily.
Hello. So last summer I worked in ARP as well, and it's a very similar process as what Retta has mentioned. So you have the questions where you should, it's very sort of team focused, one of the questions, and then the other questions are quite general ARP related. The sort of the HR team wants to know that you will fit into the sort of company ethos. So for ARP in particular, they do put up a lot of information as to what their company is about and what they look for. So if you want to apply to ARP, definitely search up the of ARP's key speech, and then you can take some points in that and then tailor to your personal interests and skills. And as for the specific team I worked for was Foresight, and so they are a sort of an in-house think tank for Arab, as well as sort of a future speculative consultancy. And originally they're very research-based, research-focused. They did a lot of reports on sort of the future of cities, the future of designing safe cities, the future of work. So everything sort of future related, as well as this kind of speculative research and trend analysis. And then recently they started pushing sort of a design way of thinking about the future. So this will be speculative design in the form of engaging what is possible for the future, or provoking conversations to, for example, regenerative design is one of the projects I worked on, and that was very much provoking conversation as to what could be the possibilities that we use design to make the future more sustainable. And so I worked on a variety of projects, one being the global trends analysis. So that was a research task, a lot of reading and writing based on current trends that could impact the built environment. Another one was sort of this whole London Design Festival. So we had an exhibition at the V&A as part of London Design Festival, and then we also made a short film that was launched during the exhibition. So I did a lot of exhibition design as to where things are placed. I did a lot of physical. I made these material trays where we put sort of soil and moss as a background. So a lot of things are very creative and a lot of things are very technical. And yeah, quite a lot of admin work. So location recce's, how tall are the tables. So I think, yeah, it was just a very good experience I had a lot of different things to do. I think for consultancy roles in general, you just have to show that you're interested in the world, you're interested in the things that might change, especially if you're applying for built environment, what is most talked about in the built environment and what could play in the future, and as well as engaging with social issues, I guess reading the news and things like that. And I think just a general, as to everyone else already said, if you're in your first year, definitely don't worry about internships now. And even when I was in second year, I spent my summer working in a cafe, which was honestly a great experience as well. You learn a lot of people skills, you learn to just chat with random cafe regulars. Yeah, it was a great time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. I just need 1 second. We will go on to our last presentation for today's session, and that will be Andrina, also from year 4.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, okay, great. So last year I did my internship in summer at SOM, so Skidmore, Owings and Merrill here in London. And I did the structural engineering internship. I'd like to say about the whole internship experience. I know lots of year 3s have done like lots of internships, but I wouldn't want to stress you out too much about it. Like obviously, I didn't have any connections. I just applied regularly, like on the website. The only thing I didn't do so many different internships. I did one very small internship in year 2 in Italy, which is where I'm from, and it was at a 1-person structural engineering firm, like that I found through connections, but it's not even a firm. It's just a guy doing structural engineering, which I think really helped me. But it was no big thing. It was no crazy, it was just a month, not even, so 4 weeks. So it's good to do something, but I think the course is already a lot of pressure. And then so for the engineering internship at SOM, the application process was, I think, similar to Arabs. It did not have a test it required. It was just you submitted a portfolio and you had a few questions. So SOM is very catered to our course in general because it's an architecture firm that does engineering. So from the basis, it's integrated design without the environment, just structural and architecture, and it's seen through lots of their buildings, such as Exchange House, the Burj Khalifa, etc. So they really like our course from the get-go. So that's really positive. In fact, the other girl I was doing an internship with also came from the engineering and architecture course at Leeds University, which is similar to ours. And then they are quite academic though. Like they have a lot of people coming from Cambridge, which is something that I thought was interesting, civil engineering. So they're very academically focused. And even throughout the internship, there's a big cohort of interns and they have this whole program, which is kind of like a course in a sense. And you're connected to all the interns from the US because it's an American company and you have all these events and really interesting, lots of different talks from all the different departments. So it's more of a whole experience. And you had, so Bill Baker's coming to talk. If you saw the SEAD's email that Oliver Houcho sent. So he gave us a course and everything. And you also did real work. So I wrote some reports and did a lot of stuff on ETABS, which is similar to GSA, just the industry standard, which is a finite element software. So it was a great experience. And I think I'd recommend it, especially because it's more of a holistic experience. So you get to go on site visits, do other activities, activities for lunch with the other interns. Then in the middle, there's a picture of us giving a final presentation to the whole office. I don't know if anyone really cared about that, but the interns, we gave a whole final presentation of the work we had done. So it's more of a summer whole experience, and then you actually do real work. So yeah, if anyone has any questions later, let me know. That's it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing too. That was the end of our presentations for today. So that was all of our 6 speakers. I want to thank everyone who stepped up to present and also thank everyone who's joined this meeting. And I will let you guys ask questions now, kind of just unmute yourself and go ahead. That can be to any one of the 6 speakers or just a general question, and we'll figure out who will answer. All right. If anyone wants to know things specific about one of the companies, or if they're already applying there or looking at the companies, yeah, feel free to ask also on the chat if someone can't unmute themselves and speak right now. And I'll wait another like half minute. And if there's no questions, we'll kind of wrap the meeting up. Right, so someone is asking on the group chat what were some of the main softwares we used during the internships. So I'll start answering with what I did, and then if any other of the speakers wants to kind of jump in and say what they used. In my internship at Mott MacDonald, which was a kind of mostly structural engineering internship, they were using, so all of their architectural team was using Revit for modeling. They weren't doing any Rhino. I didn't know any Revit, so I learned a bit of it while I was there, but I wasn't really with the architectural team, so I wasn't really asked to pull any drawings from Revit or like kind of alter their model or anything like that. Within the structural part, they were using, as Andrea was saying, the standard is to use finite element modeling. They were using that, but not GSA, which we are taught, as GSA is kind of created by Arab for Arab. They were using LS Dyna, which is another such software, which is still very, very similar. I learned it within like 2 days or so to then help them make models that they were testing. And I don't think I really used any other software than that. I was doing some hand calculations and then a lot of attending client meetings, making meeting minutes and stuff like that. I didn't do that much technical with software.
Yeah, just to add to that, in my case, I worked in different countries, and it's really interesting to see that as well, because in each country they might use something different. But the standard one, at least in terms of structures and like building construction, I would say it's Revit, which again, yeah, we are not taught. But because that's something that usually people that are like doing just structural engineering, like civil engineering are taught. However, during my architecture internship, I mainly used Rhino and all the Adobe suite, which is what we learn at the Bartlett. And then like some interns might use Grasshopper as well, like Caramba, like all these different plugins that we also learned aside from Revit. And actually in VR Kingo's group, it's a company that they've been all their life using Rhino. But lately, like over the past year, they've been moving little by little to Revit, and they sort of have like their own tech guys trying to do like everything that we can do in Rhino in Revit, which is a bit complicated, but it seems that nowadays Revit is the one. Even in the past, they also use like Archicad, which is also used in Spain, but I'm not very sure it's gonna last for long. At least that's on my side.
I'll just quickly say, I think like in the UK in general for architecture, it's just Revit the standard, or a few companies do their own ones, but S1 was completely on Revit, but they teach it to you when you're there. So like, because it's not only our university that doesn't get taught Revit, I think others in architecture don't either. So they teach it to you when you're there. And then for structures, used GSA at Arab, and then at SOM we used ETABS, which is finite element. It's very simple. Like, it's not very simple. It's quite intuitively friendly because it's only for building structures. So it's very catered to what we're doing. But yeah, they teach you, like, I think it's not an issue not knowing the software before going in. It's not really, they want to know you know how to learn softwares quickly, but I wouldn't say it's expected to know the specific software that the company would use.
So for us, we did a lot of speculative design, and then personally, I did quite a bit of the exhibition design with Rhino. We also ran a lot of workshops, which was just like regular Miro. But in terms of I think they do want people who have lots of visual software skills. So if you're able to make like a pretty picture or something that's not real, something that's futuristic through, I don't know, like Modo, any other rendering software. We also made a film, so I suppose Premiere Pro. But of course, like, these are not things that you need. It's if you have them, they will use that.
Thanks, everyone. I'll add to that. Of course, no one really expects you to know any specific software before. It is great to show that you know a lot of different software, even just through like maybe your year two portfolio. Maybe you made like an animation for your final presentation of the project, or just as Malena said, like the use of Adobe and just showing, or like all of the Illustrator and design and all of that, Photoshop, just to show that you've got the skills and to show that we've done so many different software. That's also something you could show through your interview, kind of like we have different modules where like in one module we learn Grasshopper, in one module we learn, in year three you'll do Robot, one module where we do Revit, one module where we do Karamba, another one where we do Design Builder. So they really like the idea that we can learn software fast, but they don't necessarily need you to come there and already know it. They'll definitely teach you, and also even if they do give you a task, they'll give you the time to, like, if they don't teach you, you'll be able to just watch YouTube tutorials on it or something and learn it fast enough. So really, they're not going to expect you to know a lot of software, but you should show them that you do know some, even if it's not the ones that they are asking for. Yeah, I think that's it about software. Jasper's asking if it's too late in the cycle to apply for an internship now. So no, it's definitely not too late. We didn't talk too much about the timeline of application. It's quite different for the different things. So for, say for engineering internships, for example, Arab, their internship applications closed in November, I think, or something like that. Then they reopened a couple of positions in January, and then they closed them again. So Arab's all finished now. Burahapal deadline was also sometime in like mid-January, something like that. So there are a lot of, especially engineering, structural engineering, and civil engineering in general companies, they have their deadlines quite early on because they have a very lengthy process of like sometimes doing the questions and doing an exam, then doing an interview, and also especially the big companies who get loads and loads and loads of applicants. But then most of the architectural firms haven't even opened their applications yet. So a lot of companies will only like release their positions in like February, March. They don't really expect you to have applied, or like to be ready to apply in like beginning of the academic year. A lot of the architectural stuff you apply, I'd say over the Easter break. That's a really good time to kind of give the big push on application, especially for architectural stuff, but you would still have to kind of have an idea of where you want to apply beforehand. But definitely you can start looking into it now to get an internship for this summer. It's absolutely not too late. I would recommend speaking to your personal tutor. For myself, as I said, I got the internship at Mott MacDonald kind of, I got an interview through connections because it wasn't even something that was offered. So that only happened in mid-May, I think. It was sometime in like, yeah, kind of like mid-May. My personal tutor told me, like, hey, I've got this contact in Bulgaria. I know you're from Bulgaria. Do you want to like give them a ring? Kind of thing. And then also a lot of places or like smaller companies that you can find that don't necessarily, even in the UK, they don't necessarily offer internships. So you can just like send them an email and be like, hey guys, I saw your company. I've seen, or like, especially they really like it if you've got a personal touch to them, or say, for example, at my uni, we had a SEAD lecture delivered by this guy, and I know he works at your company. It was really interesting. I really love what you guys do. Would you consider taking me for an internship, and then just straight away send along your like CV or maybe a cover letter or like a mini portfolio or something, or just emailing people actually does the job very often.
Yeah, if I can add something to that, usually because you guys asked us about the software, like Revit was really highly mentioned, but you have to take into consideration that doing an architecture internship and a structural engineering internship, it's two different things, so you're gonna be asked to do different things in both of them, know different softwares in both of them, and because our course is sort of in the middle, we have an advantage by doing both. That's why the timings are different, softwares are different. I'd say, as Ina mentioned, like firms like Arab, like structural firms, if you're doing like the structural internship, is more like something to take into consideration during your winter break. If it's like an architecture one, during the spring break, but then in between you always can send emails, do open applications. Both of my internships I did open applications, to have time, like to have your interview, to have time to prepare yourself, to not stress out. So maximum deadline would be the spring break, but between now and the spring break you have time to do it.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, I think we'll end this meeting now. I'd just like to say before we end it that thank you. So first of all, thank you for coming. This was our first of 5 workshops. So we will have similar talks over the next 4 weeks, more specifically on CVs, recommendation letters, cover letters, time management within our course, and also with applications and stuff like that. So please do join. We'll be sending you more information. And also, if anyone wants to join in on the presentation side of any of these, send me an email, let me know. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. And we're really happy to be able to do this. We're doing these from students, for students, by students. And we just really hope that they are useful for everyone. And you'll be able to find the recording on our YouTube. Thank you. Bye.